Have you ever wondered why some people find peace and simple joy in old age, while others feel more exhausted, hurt, and lonelier than ever? People often praise kindness and compassion, but there is a reality that few dare to face. Not everyone deserves your kindness, especially when you've entered retirement, the stage of life when you most need to be loved and protected. I once spoke with Charlotte, 68 years old, a devoted former nurse from Seattle. After retiring, she maintained her habit of helping others, from neighbors to old acquaintances. But she never expected her kindness to become a burden. An old classmate frequently borrowed money without paying it back. A cousin came only to complain, draining her energy. And a neighbor constantly asked for favors, only to speak ill of her behind her back. After many attempts at patience, Charlotte realized if she didn't learn to say no, she would have nothing left to keep for herself, not even peace of mind. The truth is, the older you get, the more you need to learn to choose, not just food or medication, but the people you allow into your world. If you're not mindful, kindness turns into a burden, and the very people you think you have to be nice to might be the ones causing you to lose the happiness that rightfully belongs to you. This video will help you identify 5 types of people you absolutely should not be kind to if you truly want to protect your peace and joy in life. If you've ever felt used or hurt because of your kindness, hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs it. And if this topic speaks to you, leave a comment to share your story, or simply type, "I understand," so others going through the same thing will know they're not alone. Now let's begin this journey of recognition, to love wisely and preserve our inner calm. Have you ever noticed that some people only call you when they need something? Not to check in on you, not to listen to you, but only to receive your help, your listening ear, your presence. And then when you need someone by your side, they vanish as if they never existed in your life. Independence is valued, and helping one another within the family and community is encouraged. But sometimes, kindness turns into a double-edged sword. It can turn you into someone who's always expected to be there, while no one bothers to ask how you are feeling. It's hard to accept that family members, even your children, siblings, or grandchildren, can sometimes be the takers. They come to you when they need to borrow money, need you to babysit, or need advice. But when you're sick, when you're sad, when all you need is a simple, "Are you okay?" everyone suddenly becomes too busy. They go silent, and you begin to ask yourself, am I just a convenient stop in their lives? No one wants to feel like they've given unconditionally, only to be forgotten once they're no longer useful. That feeling not only exhausts you, but also makes you question your own worth. But here is a truth you need to recognize. No one has the right to demand that you always be available, especially if they're never there when you need them. Take a moment to reflect. When you're tired, who calls to ask if you're okay? When you share something that worries you, who listens without interrupting with their own stories? When you need quiet, who respects your space without placing demands on you? Kindness is not an obligation, it is a choice. And you have every right to say no when that kindness is met not with gratitude, but with entitlement. If you keep giving without setting boundaries, you will gradually become depleted, not just of time and energy, but of faith in your relationships. Living a long, healthy life isn't just about diet and exercise. It's also about having balanced relationships, where both sides care for and respect each other. The solution isn't to cut people off completely. It's to learn how to say no gently but firmly. You can start by not immediately answering every favor request. Try asking back, "When was the last time you called just to check in on me?" That's not selfish. That's how you protect your mental and emotional well-being. And more importantly, you don't have to feel guilty for setting boundaries. Those who truly care about you will understand and respect them. The rest, they've simply become so used to your devotion that they've forgotten you need love too. Peace in old age doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from having the courage to choose, to give your time, energy, and kindness only to those who deserve it. There's a type of person who always has something to criticize. Whatever you wear, they have a comment. When you share something you're excited about, they belittle it. When you talk about your dreams, they highlight the risks. At first, you think they're just being honest or that they care enough to speak up. But after years go by, you begin to realize they've never truly uplifted you with their words. They've only made you feel like you're not enough. Personal confidence is considered a key factor in happiness and success. Yet being constantly surrounded by subtle criticism can slowly make someone shrink inward. You stop sharing the things you love. You start doubting yourself, wondering, am I really as inadequate as they make me feel? The chronic critic doesn't scream in your face. They might speak softly, smile while judging. But each of their words is like a drop of water wearing away at your self-esteem. And one day you no longer recognize the version of yourself you once took pride in. Criticism disguised as feedback or honesty can become one of the heaviest emotional burdens in old age. It keeps you in a state of constant worry that you're not good enough, not right enough, not lovable enough. And that doesn't just affect your mood, it impacts your mental and physical health too. You deserve to live in relationships where honesty is paired with encouragement, where you can be fully yourself with all your strengths and weaknesses and still feel respected. So how do you break free from the influence of constant critics? First, you need to identify them. They could be siblings, old friends, even your spouse. People whose voices you've grown so used to that you no longer recognize the toxicity. Pay attention to how you feel after every interaction. Do you feel light and uplifted or small and drained? Next, start setting boundaries. You don't need to argue or try to prove yourself right. Just state clearly, I appreciate your opinion, but I want to live in a way that makes me feel comfortable. And if needed, reduce the time spent with them, not out of hatred, but to protect your mental well-being. Finally, build a new circle of people who know how to offer genuine praise, who know when silence is more supportive than advice, and who give feedback with kindness. You might find them in an art class, a retirement community, or even an online group with shared interests. These new connections won't just help restore your confidence. They'll also enrich your later years with simple but profound joys. Remember, words have the power to heal, but also to destroy. And you have the right to live surrounded by words that make you smile, not bow your head. Have you ever been in a situation where the moment you say no, the other person sighs, falls silent, or says something that makes you feel like a terrible person? They don't need to raise their voice. Just a furrowed brow, a simple, "Oh, I just thought you'd help like you always do," is enough to leave you confused, guilty, and eventually changing your mind. This type of person isn't rude. They're polite, gentle, and that's exactly what makes it hard to recognize. You're being manipulated through guilt. Many older adults live independently or far from their children, so social connections become precious. In such circumstances, even small relationships, friends, neighbors, distant relatives, can bring joy or exhaustion if boundaries aren't in place. Those who use guilt as manipulation are often very subtle. They know you're kind, helpful, and afraid of disappointing others. They don't need to force you. They just let you blame yourself when you don't meet their expectations. And just like that, you continue giving. Not because you want to, but because you feel guilty if you don't. Living like this over time slowly strips you of your agency in relationships. You start acting not based on your true desires, but on the fear of making others unhappy. That leaves you feeling drained, trapped, and worst of all, like you're no longer yourself. Here's what's important to remember. Kindness does not mean endurance, and saying no to someone when you're tired, busy, or simply don't want to does not make you a bad person. If you notice someone often makes you feel guilty every time you refuse them, stop and think. Is this really a sincere relationship? Or is it a one-sided connection sustained through emotional manipulation? Overcoming this doesn't mean becoming cold. It means learning to be honest with your own feelings. You can say, "I'm sorry I can't help this time, but I also need some time for myself." That's not rejection. That's self-respect. And it's also a test to see who truly respects you. Additionally, you can prepare a few gentle responses ahead of time so you're not caught off guard. For example, "I'm not available this time, but I hope you can manage." Or, "I'm focusing on my health right now, so I'm limiting how much I can help." It may sound simple, but for someone who spent a lifetime living for others, saying no can feel like an inner battle. Still, each time you choose yourself, you open up a little more space for peace, for health, for joys you've never given yourself permission to prioritize. You don't need to become a distant person. You just need to become someone who knows what's enough and what no longer fits your life anymore. Have you ever shared your joy about something? A painting you just finished, a dish you cooked, or simply how much better you feel after a few weeks of doing yoga, and the other person smiles and says, "Oh, that's nice. Though I find that style a bit basic, but if you like it, then that's fine." It sounds friendly, polite, but when the conversation ends, something feels off, a strange feeling of being diminished. That's the sign of a silent rival, someone who stays close to you, but quietly competes. They don't need to announce that they want to outshine you. They just need to subtly downplay your success, slightly question your abilities, and blur just enough of the joy you were feeling. In a society that values individuality and achievement, competition is normal. But in later life, when all you want is to live gently and enjoy what you have, silent rivalry becomes a form of emotional poison. It makes you feel like you need to be on guard, even with someone you once considered a close friend. A silent rival doesn't always show obvious signs. They still congratulate you, still ask how you're doing, still give you birthday gifts. But woven into that are subtle remarks that slowly make you doubt yourself. Did I really do well? Am I bragging too much? Am I making others feel inferior? And so you start to shrink. You share less, do what you love less. And in the end, you live smaller than your true potential just to avoid making others uncomfortable. What you need to realize is this: you are not obligated to dim your light so others can feel better. Your joy does not need anyone's permission to exist. And your brilliance, however big or small, deserves to be acknowledged without apology. So what should you do when you realize you're beside a silent rival? First, be honest with your feelings. If you consistently feel deflated after being around them, trust that. Your intuition doesn't lie. Set clear boundaries around what you share. You don't have to reveal everything you do or wait for validation from someone who subtly undermines you. Second, strengthen your positive circle. People who truly celebrate with you instead of quietly comparing. Seek out community groups, art clubs, gentle sports activities, spaces where people encourage one another to grow and genuinely rejoice in each other's progress. Finally, remind yourself every day, success in old age doesn't come from being better than others, but from living true to your own values. You have every right to feel proud of what you've accomplished, no matter how small it seems to others. And you absolutely don't need anyone's permission to feel happy. Silent rivalry can erode confidence, but confidence built on self-respect will carry you through every kind of person, even the ones who smile but don't mean it. You once shared something, a thought, a plan, a small accomplishment, and the other person just stayed silent. No nod, no disagreement, no clear reaction. A few days later, they made a joke that seemed harmless. "You really are an artist now. Guess your New York gallery show is coming up soon." Everyone laughed, but you didn't, because you knew it wasn't a compliment. A passive manipulator doesn't openly criticize or deny you. They use ambiguity, half-joking comments, and especially deliberate silence to make you question yourself. Emotional expression is usually direct and obvious, but this form of passive manipulation is easy to miss because it's so subtle. But the consequences are clear. You feel uneasy, uncertain, and slowly start to withdraw for fear of becoming a joke, even when no one openly mocks you. A passive manipulator doesn't hurt you through attack. They make you do it to yourself. Every time you share something with excitement, they'll find a way to make it feel trivial or ridiculous. They don't object, but they also don't support. They don't say you're wrong, but leave just enough hints to make you doubt. Over time, that doubt becomes a habit. You start asking yourself, am I overdoing it? Am I really not as good as I think? Are people laughing behind my back? And then you stop sharing. You stop trying new things. You stop expressing yourself. Worse, you begin to mirror their silence. You stop voicing your true feelings for fear of being seen as too sensitive. You give a forced smile when you're teased, and you tell yourself, Never mind, it's not a big deal. But the truth is this. Any relationship that makes you question your own worth is a relationship worth reevaluating. You don't need to confront or accuse anyone, but you can choose not to participate in their silent games. Be honest, yet calm. I don't feel comfortable when the things I share are turned into jokes. Or simply, don't respond to those subtle jabs. When you refuse to absorb negative energy, it loses its power over you. More importantly, set clear boundaries. You have the right to feel proud. You have the right to share what brings you joy. And you have the right not to feel guilty for being yourself. Don't be afraid of being too sensitive. In a world too used to coldness, your ability to feel and protect your emotions is your greatest strength. And in older age, when every day is precious, you deserve to be around people who make you feel safe, supported, and encouraged. Because in the end, what you need isn't empty praise, but genuine presence, without masks and without emotional backstabbing, disguised as purposeful silence. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this journey. Together, we've looked at 5 types of people you need to be cautious of in your later years. Each one may wear a familiar face in your life, but if you don't recognize them and set boundaries, they can become the very reason you feel drained, lost, and gradually stripped of your self-confidence. So today, if there's one thing you take away from this piece, let it be this question. Is my kindness being given to the right people? Where will you begin to protect your life energy? Feel free to leave a comment, share your story, or simply write a line of reflection, because your words might be exactly what helps someone else reconnect with their own inner voice. If you found this content helpful, don't hesitate to click, like, share it with someone you care about, or save it for those moments when you feel vulnerable. Every time you share, you're not just spreading knowledge. You're helping create a more positive, compassionate community that knows how to love the right way. We all deserve healthy relationships, free from mockery, competition, manipulation, or exploitation, just filled with listening, understanding, and encouragement to grow better together. And you know what? It's never too late to choose again, to choose your companions, to choose what to let go of, and to choose yourself.